Hi, I'm Jordan, and this is Whiskey for the People. In this video, we're going to be blinding some Buffalo Trace, but not just any Buffalo Trace. 3 of these bottles are single barrel store picks. And what I want to achieve with this is to see if the Buffalo Trace profile from the standard batch product here is similar across the board with the single barrel products, or if these single barrel products seem to have a different profile. And within that, I want to see if these single barrel products are a step up in quality, as most people would say they are. Everybody says, hey, the picks are better. You got to get the picks. The picks are the ones that are worth it, you know, but we want to put that to the test. And we also want to see, again, amongst these picks, the differences that I find, if I find any. Are they small? Are they nuanced? Or are they going to be bigger to where some of these picks may be worth it, some of these picks may not be? I haven't blinded any of these together before, and I've drank them all individually, but they're all similarly cracked in terms of the timeline here. And I've had a good amount, maybe a pour or so out of each to get acquainted with them. But let's check these out. One thing I'm trying to do with these videos, especially if I do the one takes, is pare these down a bit and just give the content in a much more digestible, faster pace. And so on this, I get a little bit of ethanol on this first glass here. And the code for these, I've written the numbers on the bottles, and those match the pour here on the glass on the bottom. And then I've just mixed the glasses up, so that'll make it a little bit easier. So the ethanol on this is stronger than I'm used to, or that I'd like for a 90 proof something. Yeah, you get that Buffalo Trace floral thing, but not a ton of that fruit or super sweet thing that they're known for. On Buffalo Trace, I get more honey than I do the super pronounced fruit notes on things like E.H. Taylor or maybe Blanton's, which different mash bill with Blanton's, but nonetheless. So let's go ahead and give this one a taste. Yeah, so this one has a lot more on the palate than the nose would lead you to believe. I definitely get that that floral honey thing that is quite strong on Buffalo Trace just right away. That kind of turns into a little bit richer, a little bit darker something, maybe some caramel, just some light caramel to that. It does have a little bit of a nice little spice to the finish, but that ethanol disappeared quite quickly. I don't think hardly any of it translated to the palate on this first one. I think that this is okay. It's good, not great, nothing special. Let's go to glass 2 here. And so right away, this is quite different, actually. Yeah, so this has less ethanol going on. It's deeper, but the floral note is kind of toned down, and this seems to have just a little bit more oak to it. Whereas the previous glass didn't have a ton of oak to it. Maybe just a little bit of oak or wood spice on that finish there, which is what I think I was getting. Let's go ahead and taste this one. Okay, wow. Yeah, so that one was darker, for sure. After a swig of water, the finish kind of brightens up and goes to that that honey sweet thing. But that one across the whole palate, I got a good amount of oak for what I would expect from Buffalo Trace. There's definitely some sweetness there. The floral stuff that I normally get from Buffalo Trace on this second glass was the most noticeable difference, and what I think is significantly toned down on this one. I think that between glass 1 and 2, wow. And I'll come back to these for another round here, but let me keep going. Let's keep going. So on glass 3, again, this one is different right away. This one has a good amount of citrus going on, and I would say that it also has some sweetness to it that's a little more pronounced than that last nose on glass 2. Yeah. Wow. This one has a lot of kind of orange going on. Some orange peel, but also some kind of orange juice thing. It's sweet, but it's, it's got a very pronounced flavor kind of thing going to it. Yeah, wow. This reminds me of those little orange, the multi-packs of gummies that you would get when you were a kid in the little white pack about this big, and the orange slice. This reminds me a lot of that. A whole lot of that. Yeah, so let me... Definitely took a swig right in the middle of talking there, right? Yeah, wow. That has so much orange to me. I mean, that is kind of the whiskey equivalent of that orange gummy that I was describing. Wow. Yeah, there is a noticeable difference in these first 3 glasses, at least on my first impression of them. Let's go to this 4th one here. And so this one, to me, comes back to kind of more oak. Just a little bit darker profile. The sweet notes are turned down. I get a little bit of a lemon thing or a lime thing. It's citrus, but it's not sweet like that orange. It's definitely more of a bit of a zest. Kind of reminds me of like a lemon zest thing going on. Let's give this one a taste here. So on the palate, this is much lighter. This doesn't present that same kind of oak, but with a little bit of a lemon thing going on. This is definitely very floral on the palate to me. What I mean by that is that it has this very delicate green type of thing, type of plant thing going on, but with just a little bit of the edges kind of round off to where it has this almost powdery, I always call it like kind of polleny because it matches with the floral thing. It's almost more of a mouthfeel or sensation or what's left a little bit on your palate after you've tasted it, where it's a little bit chalky, a little bit powdery kind of thing, but it's relatively sweet. It's just a little bit herbal, a little bit sweet. But the bigger thing is especially while the whiskey's in your mouth and you're tasting it, it's more delicate in nature rather than big, bold, punchy flavor. So wow, yeah. Again, this one was a little bit darker, glass 4 here on the nose, but it was really bright and kind of floral on the palate. Not a ton of sweetness throughout, just a little bit, enough to support the floral thing. But let's go through these one more time, and then let's wrap it up and reveal what we've got here. So this first one has gotten a lot more funky, for lack of a better term. I get a little bit of the, just a teensy bit of the Buffalo Trace kind of vinegary thing. I get sweet vinegar, kind of candied, syrupy thing. Just a little bit, but there's... The ethanol subsided on the first glass here, which had the most, it was most noticeable for me at least. And I've been smelling whiskeys the past couple hours, so I don't think it was just my senses being shocked by coming to the first glass. Yeah, no, the ethanol's calmed down a bit, partially because what little bit I have left is a halved portion of what I had before, but I think also it opening up, it's gotten just a little bit sweeter, a little bit funkier, but still is quite bright. And it's definitely got that lemon lime thing. It kind of reminds me of when you have a Sprite and it's fizzled, and the carbonation's popping and you get just a slight mist from it. and it's like so distinctively lemon lime. It lets you know that you're drinking a lemon lime soda. That whole thing, that sensation, just that kind of mist of a lemon lime thing. I get that on this. So let's go ahead and taste this again. Yeah, so this first glass, if I had to guess, tastes a little extra, I don't know, rough around the edges, maybe a little bit bright, maybe a little bit, a teensy bit of younger whiskey in it or something, let's say, than compared to the other whiskeys from just the palate, what I'm perceiving. Could be totally wrong. But yeah, this may... In my opinion, I think this is the batched. I think this is just a standard off-the-shelf Buffalo Trace here. And let's see if I can get that glass and frame in front of it. It just doesn't have as much going on, not as much depth, not as much flavor across the board, whether that's kind of the nose, the palate, the finish. And then it just has a slight bit of maybe youthfulness that is a little bit unappealing. So again, coming to the second glass, this is definitely a step up, in my opinion. This is deeper, this is darker, it's richer. It has sweetness, but this is definitely a little more oak forward. Just a little more oak forward to me. I would say the differences in these are definitely noticeable, but not huge. Noticeable, but not huge. The profile overall, I think, is fairly consistent. I say that. Of course it's consistent. It's Buffalo Trace. They know what they're doing. But some store picks with some particular whiskeys, some distillates, and just some distilleries in general, they can be night and day. These are not night and day, but there are noticeable differences, if that's of any help. Let's taste this one. So it's totally a shot in the dark between these three single barrels. I'm not acquainted enough with these, and I really don't think there's noticeably enough difference unless I maybe drank 3/4 of the bottle and just sat there and picked them apart very consistently. It would be virtually impossible for me to pick these out, if that gives you an idea, again, of how little the difference is. But yeah, I think this is definitely a single barrel. So I'm just going to divide these up like this. I'm going to put the single barrel guesses over here. I'm going to leave this batch guess, let's just say kind of right over here. And see if I want to change that batch guess as we get to these last two here. So again, 3, wow. I think this is the one, unless I'm crazy and I'm misremembering here in a minute. This just seems like that orange gummy. A lot of citrus on this, but it's also very juicy and kind of sweet. Not just that lemon zest or that lemon lime kind of acidity or something going on. Yeah, wow. That is so distinctively orange. And I do get just kind of a little bit of orange juice, I guess I'm thinking. More of a fresh squeeze thing than like super synthetic, sugary, just, orange flavor. But I definitely get that gummy synthetic orange flavor that's really so good. Those, and then the orange slices, the super granulated sugar covered ones, it's definitely kind of in that wheelhouse, and I love that. This is my favorite for sure, without even trying the fourth one again. This one is my favorite here, and I'm going to put my favorite kind of in front, but still there with those. And so let's try this. Let's try this fourth one. Just make sure we don't want to change our guess on which one we think is batched. Yeah, I'm getting a little more ethanol on this one this time around, so that's throwing me for a little bit of a loop. I was just kind of assuming that the last 3 glasses were going to be the single barrels based off of that first one there, but this one This one, if there was one of the 4 that I would swap out, or of the 3 remaining rather, from the original batch guess, it would be this one. And it's weird because this is noticeably darker. It's just the sharpness of it. And that could just be straight up kind of oak spice that I'm getting or whatever, because this definitely is darker. But I just remember the standard Buffalo Trace having a lot, not a lot more, but it's definitely very prominently bright. And it's good. It's floral, it's sweet, it's whatever, but it's very bright. I don't recall from memory thinking Buffalo Trace really has a lot of oak present at all from the batch product. Yeah, let's go ahead and taste this. I'm going to go out on a limb and just say this has too much flavor to be the batch. I do think these 3, this last glass here, and the, sorry, computer shut off on me and ruined a whole take earlier, so trying to make sure that we don't lose all that. But I do think that this last glass here is a single barrel. I think these are the 3 single barrels. I think this one right here is the standout of the bunch to me. And so let's go over these really quick. And first thing I want to know is whether this one is in fact the batch. So it would be number 4 if it is, and it is. Thank goodness I could tell that, or else this whole single barrel thing here would be a big farce, right? So yes, this is the batched standard off-the-shelf Buffalo Trace. And I think even coming back to it with the glass relatively empty and smelling these others, yeah, and the noticeable difference, of these is, I mean, throughout the nose, drinking the whiskey, then come back to these glasses, you know, you get that last kind of smell where it's got a little bit in it, but there's not much there. And so it's evaporating, and what's there is kind of clinging to the glass and drying up and producing some deeper smells for you. Yeah, it's definitely different. And so I'm glad to know that at least the single barrels to me do stand out. I think there is a noticeable difference across the board. And then let's go and see what my favorite is here. It's number 2. And so this is actually a pick out of town but close by that I picked up, and I got a couple of these. So I'm glad that I've got that one. This one was just that orange gummy thing going on, and I love this. For anyone that's local to me, this is the Hilltop Wine and Spirits Buffalo Trace pick. And then between these 2, let's see if we can just go off the nose here. And so this is the one, this 4th glass, that I thought was, yeah, so this is definitely not the 4th glass. That would make this glass number 2. Glass number 2, I think, is my second favorite of the bunch. And it's definitely got a lot more of that Buffalo Trace kind of funk thing going on than probably any other glass. Then maybe my favorite. Let me see. No, yeah, this glass has number 2 has more Buffalo Trace funk than anything else. So let's see which bottle this is. This is number 3, and so this is another local pick I got from a couple years back, actually. And for anybody local, this is a Pops Wine and Liquors pick. This is from 2021, so this was a few years back. Then that leaves this one, number 1. This is the newest of the bunch. This is a local pick from D's, and yeah, it's good. It's definitely significantly better than standard Buffalo Trace, in my opinion. I say significantly, noticeably, significantly, maybe a little bit drastic here, but it's definitely noticeably better. So for just a couple bucks more than you would pay for a standard Buffalo Trace, I think it's definitely well worth it. I'm glad I picked one up. I actually picked 2 of these up today Yeah, I think there is a difference in these single barrels. I think there's a noticeable difference. I think that it's absolutely worth the extra coin. I think these usually go for somewhere in the vicinity of $2 to $5 more than the standard Buffalo Trace at MSRP, and I think it's worth it. And I think it's really fun too to see that there is noticeable differences amongst the single barrels here. That these aren't just super consistent single barrels that everything virtually tastes the same. These do have differences. They are significant enough for me to have favorites, and I'm glad to have done this. I think this educated me a little bit and helped me develop my palate, and definitely gave me appreciation for Buffalo Trace, and not only their profile for the standard Buffalo Trace bottling from Buffalo Trace, but the fact that they do have nuance, they do have variance, and whether it's warehouse, oak, whatever, just the day, the time of year, whatever makes one of these bottles or one of these barrels lucky. I think this whole orange slice gummy thing is out of control good for under $30. Wow, any of these are winners under $30. If you pay more than $30 for Buffalo Trace, I think you're just kind of throwing money in the wind. It's not worth more than $30, but it's a great bottle at 20-something. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you taking the time. And if you find one of these Buffalo Trace single barrels, I would just say no matter what, pick one up if it's at retail. If it's under $30 or $29.99, and under, I think it's a great value. But hey, thank you for watching. Cheers.